Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sean Atwood channel with myself, Ron Swanson, and the ever fabulous Mr. John Wedger, whistleblower, ex-UK policeman, bit of an underpants swimming legend, but he's here tonight to talk about Michael Barrymore, which we'll get to into just a minute. I just want to say, our little podcast from my mum's house last week, John, right, is sitting on about 65,000 views.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
And we have got Julia this Sunday. Julia is, of course,
Yes,
the
she was
lady.
happy.
Yeah, she's a
The
cool lady.
Polish, yeah, that's right. The Polish Madeleine McCann. She's been in
Yep.
contact with me for quite a while, and she said, "John, I don't want to be called a liar." I said, "But I'll have to call you a liar because I think Madeleine's dead." And so I said to her, officially, in my head, you're dead.
See,
But again, I'm not knocking her or I'm there to put down. I said, if I can get your platform, let's do it. Let's do it. And she's been good. She's been okay.
well, here's the thing. My mind is so diverse, right? That I won't allow myself to make up my mind on a decision, on a theory. All of the theories are right until we know what the facts are. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
none of us were there, were they?
well, this is the thing. And we can have firm beliefs in something, but firm beliefs in another, because I believe it's healthy to define the parameters of the situation we're describing. So, is Madeline alive? Give me your conclusion, if that makes sense. And I've got so many theories. I mean, I definitely believe. I think after last week, if a gun was put to my head, I would go with the accidental death and hiding. If I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I did another Madeline podcast for another guy who set up his own channel, and he
Okay.
did the same. He got incredible hits on it. He said the hits have gone crazy. No, I
It's
said, well, they will do because it's a good topic.
Well, that's the thing, and since then we have been given the green light for a monthly McCann special every month, John. So,
Yeah.
which is great. But what I think we should do is try and take it to the next level, and see if we can get anybody who's been around the case or involved in the case, police force, whatever. What are the chances of you finding out who the sniffer dog handler was? And
Yeah. I've got a contact with the dog handling world, so I'll put my feelers out. There's
yeah,
a fellow that I've done some work with who's the number one dog handler in the world, actually,
well,
and
this is
he'll know. He'll know.
Well,
So
tonight, where if you're from the UK, this is not a new case, unless you've been living under a rock. If you are not from the UK, this is the Michael Barrymore case. Now, I remember Michael Barrymore as the Strike It Lucky guy. Is it the Strike It Lucky?
yeah,
Top,
yeah.
top
He's
middle or
done.
bottom? Top middle or bottom? Really old school 80s and 90s game show host. He was top of his game at one point, though, right? I mean,
He was the most highly paid entertainer on British TV. He really. I think at the time when Strike It Lucky was its height, there was something like 68 million people in the United Kingdom, and 17 million would tune in.
yeah.
So almost a third of the population would watch this guy.
Just in case you are under the age of 20 and watching this, many years ago, there was this big event called Saturday Night Television, right? Where,
Mhm.
believe it or not, you would gather around with your family and you would watch the garbage that was the TV back then. But it was epic. And this is Strike It Lucky. I mean, look at the era here. These are actual bulb televisions that are fitted into this stage. Okay.
Yeah, it must weigh a ton.
Do you know what I mean? How freaking do you? I wonder how many people died under those tellies since like before flat screens, John. Like I
Yeah,
remember the one thing when I was a kid moving my room around as a teenager, I had the old living room telly, and my God, I swear, if someone had broken in and they fell on the floor and I kicked that on them, I win every time, every
well,
time.
go back to the early 90s. I was working as a beat bobby, as a uniform copper in southeast London.
Okay.
We was on this really notorious housing estate, high-rise blocks, and someone threw a telly out and it landed on our car and just wrote it off.
Oh my God, that do you know? I just want to say to anyone who now sees that in a movie and thinks that could never happen, John is the guy who that happened to.
It did.
He's
Yeah,
the
I
guy.
can't.
Yeah, he's the He's the someone's going to lose an eye version of the telly coming out the window. Okay. So listen, John, can you just give us a rundown? Just give us a 5 minutes of if you were explaining who Michael Barrymore. I know we just started to do that, but explain Michael Barrymore as if I'd never heard of him. Just take us on a little refresher.
Right. So number one TV presenter. He's a born entertainer. This guy. He was born Michael Parker. He's 1952, so the post-war era. I think it's him and two older siblings. I think his father might have been an Irish immigrant. I'm not too sure, but very, very working class. Probably from the roughest part of the United Kingdom, Bermondsey, real heart of the Cockney.
Yep.
Just south of Tower Bridge. A really, really rough estate, the Dickens estate, and he was born into poverty. Really, his father was a very, very violent man. It's something I will really come back to his childhood because it's so important. It's so important what we're doing. But he's a repressed homosexual. Back in the day when you couldn't be gay, it was dangerous, and none of that, it was illegal. And he's in the entertainment industry. He's obviously got this natural gift to entertain. It really doesn't go down too well with his family and his peers because it's a long part of the world. But he leaves school. He gets himself a job as a Butlins Redcoat, an entertainer in a holiday camp. He meets his future wife Cheryl, and we'll go on about their marriage a bit later on.
Sure.
She goes on to be his agent, very headstrong woman, pushes him to enter a talent show. What is it, Lucky Faces or something like that? Search for Star. Anyway, he wins it. He wins it. Within a few years, he's just astronomical. His rise to fame, and he's really down to earth, and really cheeky Cockney guy. Very extrovert, very funny, good at impressions. He does like a bit of Basil Fawlty-esque type stuff. And he's unstoppable, this guy, absolutely unstoppable. He openly comes out as gay in 1992 after being caught in a gay nightclub. His marriage is over, and this cracks start to appear in this guy's private life. He then admits to being addicted to alcohol and drugs. So he's in and out of rehab. But again, the British public are behind him. They still see him as one of the good guys until the 31st of March 2001. And this is where it all changes.
Yeah.
So, and this is what happens. So he's out with his new gay lover, a bloke called Jonathan Kenny. Now, Jonathan Kenny, we're going to spend a bit of time on him. He's
is this gentleman?
That's Stuart Lubbock. This is Stuart Lubbock. But Barrymore's out with Jonathan Kenny. Jonathan Kenny is a drag artist, but a man with underlying violent tendencies. Quite a jealous guy, quite an angry guy, and has had run-ins with the police for acts of violence. A bit of a Jekyll and Hyde character. They go out. They end up partying. Barrymore lives in the sleepy little Essex village of Roydon. The nearest town to that is Harlow in Essex. So it's just normal. Essex, Harlow is one of the towns. There was three in the late 60s, early 70s. Three towns were built in what they called overspills. So it was Harlow, Hatfield, and Hemel
Hang on one second, John. I just need to fix some of the audio settings. We've just got a slight over. Okay, John, if you can count to 10 for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, 7, can everyone in the side chat give me a one in the side chat if that's better, less crackling, and still a listenable volume? John, if you can count to 5 again for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right,
9,
we'll just wait on the lag of the live stream catching up with everybody, and we should get a response. 1. Nomad's usually good for a shout out. Okay, seems better. Okay, wicked. All right, apologies, John. Please carry on, and thank everyone for letting me know.
Yeah, so Harlow's an overspill town. It's populated mainly with East End characters, that have moved out of the smoke and moved into his new town. And the new towns were quite prosperous places, but they're a mix of people from the inner city and the rural folk. So he's ended up at a nightclub called Millennium in Harlow. And whilst there, he bumps into a few locals, and he invites them to his party. One of them being this guy, Stuart Lubbock. Now, I need to declare an interest here because Stuart Lubbock dies this night, right? Now, and it's been his father, Terry Lubbock's lifelong campaign to get justice for his son because this is a suspicious death, right? And there's a lot of weirdness goes on. I knew Terry Lubbock. I did some work for Terry Lubbock. I've done some work for a major TV channel in investigating Barrymore. I know friends of the Lubbocks and everything. So I've got a good input into this. So there might be some stuff that comes out tonight, which is quite new. All right.
Awesome.
Well, it might be that because I get it straight from the source. It comes straight from the source when it comes to this. And I was at a meeting last night with Terry Lubbock's best friend, a guy that I can't
I'm
name.
sorry. I'm sorry to be a pain in your butt, right?
Shall I
Are you
turn
looking
these
at, no, can you, what are you on? Are you on a computer or a laptop or your phone?
a phone?
Okay, so when you're looking at the screen, can you see where it says settings?
That's not come up.
It's a little cog, right? It's a little cog that
Yeah,
says,
that's not on this screen.
okay, can you see three little dots at the side of your picture?
Yeah.
If you click on that, can you see something that says edit mic settings?
Edit audio avatar.
No, edit audio. Click on that. And then does it say manually adjust volume?
Hang on. Audio. Do you want me to connect external mic? I've got an external mic if that will work.
Have you got earbuds?
I'll just take these headphones off.
Yeah, take those headphones off and see if that's.
Let me take these off. Hang on.
Hey, bother everybody. Yeah, sorry. There was a slight amount of crackling coming through. Now you might need to go. You might need to leave and then rejoin, John, so that your mic.
No, it should be okay.
There we go.
That should be better. So I've ditched in the headphones. They're rubbish.
Well, no. It's. I think the microphone's built into the headphone, and I just need to teach you how to adjust your settings. That's all.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. I'll just carry on like this. So
yeah, wicked, mate.
So anyway, Michael Barrymore, Britain's #1 TV presenter, from a rough working class family. I really want to go on about that in a second. Anyway, the 31st of March 2001, he's in a nightclub with his new boyfriend, and he invites a few locals. So he invites 8 people back to his mansion, I suppose, his millionaire's pad for a party. This party turns out to be a drug-fueled party. Okay, so cocaine there, ecstasy there, alcohol. Barrymore in and out of rehab, heavy drinker, does the cocaine, loves a joint. He did a lot of amyl nitrates, poppers. The anal muscle relaxant, and the drug of choice for some people in the gay community.
We do need to watch our terminology.
Yeah. Of course, I'm very mindful of that. So he's been taking them, and the party gets in full swing. So there's 8 people there, plus Barrymore, and there's I think there's 5 men and there's 3 women there, right? 2 of the women are very young. 2 of the women are alleged to be 17 years old. So they're legally be classed. I think back then they'd be classed as minors, as adults. Now they'd be classed as minors.
Okay.
So back then an adult was 16. Now it's 18. There were prior to them going to this party, Barrymore has a massive set to with his boyfriend, Jonathan Kenny, and they sort of have a lover's tiff and split up. And Barrymore leaves, takes these people back to his place, and leaves Kenny behind. And he takes with him Stuart Lubbock. Now, Stuart Lubbock, 32 years old, wholesale butcher, Essex boy from the area, Harlow, and he's a bit of a player. Stuart, he's
Okay.
good-looking young boy, looks younger than what he is, and he likes the girls. He's not gay. This guy, he likes the women.
Okay.
But the offer of going back to the most celebrated TV personality in the UK was too much for him to turn down. So he leaves his brother behind. His brother regrets not going with him now, and off they go to Barrymore's place. Right.
It's a tough sign of the times, if I'm being honest, because alarm bells would be ringing. But in saying that, I suppose he wouldn't really be hiding his or repressing his sexuality so much in this era. But you can see, I mean, in this day and age, if Michael Barrymore invites a young guy back from a club back to his house, I think everyone would know what was going on there, if you see what I mean. So it's surprising that Stuart had no inclination of what Barrymore's aim was.
There was a couple of women there, but
okay, all right.
So there was 3 women. And anyway, so not much is known about what goes on until 5:45 when the emergency services are called. Now, what has happened is in the evening, Jonathan Kenny decides to go back. He hears that Barrymore's left with a young boy, a young lad. Off he storms to have it out with Barrymore. And Kenny has got a history of violence behind him, right? So we can only assume that it's kicked off, right? Now, I'm going to give you what's known, then I'm going to give you a theory.
All right.
5:45, a guy called Justin Merritt. Justin Merritt is a local drug dealer, really. It's alleged that he's the one who supplies Barrymore with his cocaine and his cannabis and his ecstasy and
the white stuff, the green stuff, and the pills.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's Charlie Puff pills.
Yeah, that's the one.
And he's been in and out of trouble. He's a bit scroty, is our Justin, and his sister's with him. I think Kelly, his sister's name. And he calls 999 because there's the allegation or the message to the paramedics is there's a man dead in the pool. There's a man dead in the pool. You got to come, man dead in the pool. Anyway, the paramedics come, police come, and Stuart Lubbock is pronounced dead, taken to hospital. 3 hours later, he's pronounced dead. Right.
Nuts.
And it initially goes off as that it's drowning. Now, this is where it all gets very, very bizarre, right? Okay. And we're going to bring in characters now. So, what happens is Barrymore, instead of remaining on scene, does a runner, collects a few bits and pieces together and does a runner. The next day, now this isn't known, he checks into a clinic called the Springfield Medical Center, right? Allegedly with problems involving his genitalia, his winkle.
Okay.
Now, we don't know much more than that, but this is what a source is saying, right? Barrymore says he goes round to his agent's house, a bloke called, is it Mick Brown? Or Mark Brown, Mick Brown, I think. I've got it written. Is it Michael Brown, yeah? Anyway, Michael Brown turns up on the scene. Barrymore is seen to gather things together quickly and leave, right? The police arrive. It doesn't go off as a crime scene. Now, this is strange because it's a suspicious death. Drugs are found in there and a guy is dead in a pool, right? Now, protocol should have been this. Protocol should have been that the senior officer for the CID is informed that is sealed off as a crime scene and everyone is arrested on suspicion of murder and they're detained until they know what's going on. That is a protocol. Now, the senior investigating officer then, now this is strange, is a detective superintendent he went on to become called Kevin Macy. Kevin Macy last year received the Order of the British Empire Award by King Sausage Fingers of the UK, ordered his subject, Detective Superintendent Kevin Macy, as the most experienced UK detective, right? Kevin Macy served 47 years. I mean, talk about being obsessed with your job. He had governed 52 murder inquiries in his 47 years, right? Now, this is a very connected, very seasoned, very knowledgeable guy, probably a global expert on murders and murder scenes.
Okay.
Yet he fails to seal this off. Bear in mind a suspicious death, an unaccountable death, as a murder scene, right? Every single person there should have been a suspect. They're not. They're treated as a witness, yet none of the officers that are deployed take any statements or any original notes or quotes, which is unheard of. It's unbelievable.
Did you not tell us last week if someone's murdered in a nightclub, the place is sealed off, everyone's arrested, everyone's a suspect?
Yeah,
that's
exactly it.
So that's what should have happened here, right?
Bear in mind.
Oh well, we don't know if it was a murder yet, right? This is a dead body.
Don't, but it's a suspicious death, so we don't know. So you've got to err on caution, and it's one of the things. If we're wrong, we apologise, right?
Yeah.
If you're right, and you haven't done this, then there's a big problem. There's a big problem, right? And again, what happens then is it's not sealed off as a crime scene, but it's photographed. The what they call a photog. The forensic photographer comes in, photographs this pool scene and various elements of the house. Drugs are found and all this, right? And the crime scene is then handed over to the new kid on the block, which is this Mike Brown, the personal assistant, the PA for Barrymore. Barrymore's done a runner, bear in mind he says he's innocent. He does a runner, right? And along with Jonathan Kenny, they've gone.
How often, in your experience, do the innocent people just run?
Never.
Yeah, that's weird, that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Mike Brown turns up, and he's allowed to adulterate the crime scene. He is then seen taking certain objects. Now, right, and the police give him some duties to carry out, which is absolutely massively 100% against protocol. This inquiry goes through five senior investigating officers, right? And so this guy, who's seen as the best in the world, Detective Superintendent Kevin Macy, has totally and utterly effed up. Now, the question is this done on purpose? And this is something no one's spoken about, and we're going to cover it tonight. Right, but there's more to add into the mix. The cadaver, the body, is taken to the local hospital. Right now, it's cold. It's been in the cold water. Right now, the strange thing is with cold water and water deaths is that sometimes the body can go into stasis of up to an hour. So the protocol is that the body has to be warmed back to body temperature. Okay. And that can take a bit of time. And in that period of time, they have to take the temperature of the body. Now, they do that with a rectal thermometer, which is designed to go into the rectum, right? So it's small and it's inintrusive. It's not an issue, right? It's a small thermometer. It's not, so this has to be taken over a period of minutes to check the temperatures. On the whole, it's taken 14 times, right? Until the body goes back to body temperature. At that point, they can pronounce life extinct, right?
Okay.
Now it's like PLE, pronounced life extinct. All right. And everyone is allowed to just leave. So the next day, a pathologist is called because an autopsy needs doing. So they call in a guy called Michael Heath. Right. So we've got the
I recognize that name, Michael Heath.
Yeah. Well, we got the top police officer, 47 years, the best in the business, sausage finger knights him and everything else. Right. And he hasn't done his job and he's screwed up massively, right? monumentally. He's not secured a crime scene. He's not arrested anyone, and he's left exhibits to be adulterated, right, on what is a suspicious death. Even a PCSO wouldn't be so stupid to do that. Yet this guy, best in the business, has done this.
How close to the end of his career was he?
I think he only no, he was still in full throat. You know, he was, you know, I think he wasn't far from officially retiring, but bear in mind, this guy goes on to do 27 years more than he has to. Oh, no, sorry, 17 years more than he has to.
Okay, so it's not like the dying twilight years of a blumbering.
No, not at all.
No.
You know, he's in full thing. You know, bear in mind, he ends up dealing with 52 murder inquiries, and so there's no excuse for this guy. Barrymore's not remained on scene. He's run off with his boyfriend, gathered some items together, right? They've done a runner, right? And Barrymore ends up in this clinic the next day with an injury to his manhood, right?
Sure. Mr. Balding, we'll come back to your question. I'll start all the questions for when we're done.
Now, you know, he should have stayed. He claims he didn't know what happened. He claims he was unaware of any foul practice at all. But he's acting like someone who's in a world of trouble, right?
Okay.
And he calls his PA, and his PA comes and starts removing items that are significant exhibits to a murder. Right now, this is where it gets interesting. Michael Heath turns up.
Okay.
This is probably the most notorious pathologist in the country, right? He has been under the spotlight of the GMC, the General Medical Council, more than any other medical practitioner in history. If you've got anyone who is incompetent and a cover-up merchant in the world of pathology, Michael Heath is your guy. Now, he has dealt with the Moores victims from the Moores murders. He's dealt with Stephen Cameron, Kenny Noyes victim. He's dealt with Stephen Lawrence. He's dealt with, you name it, this guy's dealt with it. Now, in his dysfunctional career, he has had two men wrongly convicted of murder for two separate jobs when he said they're foul play when it wasn't. So two guys ended up getting acquitted and everything else after, you know, reviews in the cases, because he claimed that the victims have been murdered when it was natural causes. So two innocent people, two separate cases, went away and served time for life for murder, right? Okay, so he's done that. He also was involved in a controversy where in 2006, where he autopsied the wrong body and then sent it for cremation, and the family got the ashes back, and he did his autopsy report. How they found out it was the wrong body was that in the report they said he put down that the gallbladder was heavier than it should have been. And they said, well, hang on, our mum, because it was an old woman, she had her gallbladder removed 5 years ago. So he'd autopsied totally the wrong person, right? Jeez. You know, I mean, this guy is atrocious. In the end, he is told, right, by the GMC, you've got to stand down. You know, and he actually, I've heard about this guy because there's a case I would like us to cover, and there's a lady called Iffy, and her father died in incredibly suspicious circumstances, even worse than this. And the pathologist who covered it all up was no other than Michael Heath. So this guy, it's as if this was a conspiracy.
Dude, this is club alarm bells all over it. Okay, can I just say at this point, I'm gripped. I know you're all gripped. Can you please share this stream? Please like it. I know a lot of you are watching on your tellies, and you've had a week now to figure out how to like and share off your TV. So if you can't do it, just stop watching on your TV. That would be my suggestion, if I'm being honest. So please like and share. It really, really helps us out. I know you hear me say it and you don't do it. Can we please do it? It's free. Share, like, it means the world. So, John.
Right. So, anyway, Heath gets hold of the body and he does his autopsy, and he says, well, there's water in the lungs. This is drowning. Right? That's what he says. Okay. What he fails to say but he does allude to it. So bear in mind, there's 5 senior investigating officers from murder teams have dealt with this case, have taken it. Subsequently, one has been taking it off of the other because of malpractice. The last SIO, senior investigating detective, turned around and said, "This is rape. This is murder." Right? No two ways about it. This should have been sealed off as a crime scene. Everyone should have been arrested, as we've mentioned in the past. I don't know what's going on. So he's criticising Kevin Macy, who is seen as the best of the best, right? So, and anyway, so pathologists, we end up having 4 pathologists on this case. So not just a second post.
Hang on a second, John. We've lost your audio. Someone's calling John right now. Hang on. We still can't hear you, John. You might have to go in and out again, John, since someone phoned you. There we go. There we go. We got you. Yeah, you're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You're back, mate.
Yeah, someone's saying, "Oh, just had to," anyway. So Michael Heath said, right, so this guy has died from drowning, right?
Okay.
But his injuries are that his anus has the aperture of an orange. His injuries to his anal tract in his rectum are so severe that alone would have caused his death.
An orange, like not like an easy peeler, like a proper orange.
An eating orange. The aperture of his anus is that size, conducive with a fist-shaped object being forcefully rammed into it. Right, that alone would have caused a cardiac arrest and extreme pain. Right, the tearing is horrific. There's tearings all up his colon, in his bowel. It's just, and there is blood everywhere. There a towel was wrapped around him, and his pants were found coated in blood. But new pants were put on him prior to the paramedics turning up.
Just to warn everyone, trigger warning. Just imagine I said, imagine I said that 2 minutes ago. Carry on.
They never took bacterial samples from the pool. The pool's a crime scene, by the way, so they should have taken samples of water and tested to see if anyone had been in there. But
surely when they arrived, all of this would have been laying about and visible, right? Or was this all taken away? Because it seems to me if you've got blood,
the scene had been adulterated. Now, what happens then is that on the forensic photographs, there's 2 items that are seen poolside, right? Bear in mind, it's the end of March, right? The pool hadn't been heated up, and it got heated during the night, so it's freezing cold. So no one would have gone swimming in it anyway. Let's get that right. No one would have got, but the body was put in there, right? All the witnesses give different accounts as to the position of the body. Barrymore says the body is laying down, staring at him. Barrymore wouldn't go in and get the body out because he said he couldn't swim. When 10 witnesses were called who said, "Yeah, we know Barrymore swims," and there's photos produced of him swimming. So he's lying through his teeth, and he's done a runner, right? Other victims have said the body was on its side. Some said it was on its back, some on its front. It's a total mess, right? Everyone is lying, right? And his clothing had been changed. The towel had been taken away from him, which was coated in blood. His original pants had been taken off, which were coated in blood, and these other ones were put on, and they'd been washed in the swimming pool, right? So this goes down as drowning, right? So it ends up in the hands. The father, Terry Lubbock, the father of Stuart, he's absolutely distraught, and the police are just lying and fobbing him off with nonsense. He's not accepting a bit of it. So it ends up going to a second pathologist. So it goes to a second opinion, and the doctor, because it's just a footnote, Dr. Michael Heath's thing about the anal injuries. A new pathologist gets it, and he's like, "What?" And that subsequent 3 other pathologists all say the same. These injuries are the primary cause of death. They are absolutely horrific. This is non-consensual, and this is a violent assault.
Wow.
A very, very violent assault, which would, without a doubt, be the major factor for this young man dying. Not the water in the lungs, but the other thing is there's petechiae, which are these small dots that occur when someone is strangled, right, or they are suffocated, right. This guy's got them all over his face, so it indicates he's been suffocated. He's got these horrific injuries. Now, Barrymore, what does he do? He goes and hires Michael Mansfield. Now, we discussed Michael Mansfield many times on this show, and I class this man as an abhorrent individual. He's seen as a #1 barrister, QC, KC, whatever he might be. I don't like the guy because what he does, if he can't attack the information, he attacks the source of the information, right? Which has got nothing to do with the price of fish, but he does it in order to win. So he comes up with a theory. This is what, you see, coppers take an oath to act without fear or favour. Now, some coppers are corrupt and they don't do that, but on the whole, coppers do, and they're accountable by the law, and they are accountable to the courts. Barristers sell their soul to whoever pays the most money, right? And as long as their client doesn't deliberately lie to their face and that cause them to get perjury in the box, which is called being professionally embarrassed, as long as their client doesn't deliberately lie to him, say, yeah, I did it, he might say, I don't think I did it. Well, that's good enough. They can run with that. Now there's a young man that has died in the most horrific of circumstances. So Michael Mansfield decides that he wants to coerce the jury using his skills of advocacy, the art of arguing the toss over nothing, to bully the jury into accepting that poor Stuart Lubbock slipped and bashed his little bottom on the steps, causing them injuries.
No, stop it.
But this is what this guy Mansfield does. So he sits there and he turns around and they see him as this glorified guy who's helped survivors of abuse, and he's also gone out with the Diana inquiry. He goes wherever he's paid the most, right? You know, he's like a cat. Whoever feeds him gets the loyalty. You know, I don't like him, and I've never liked him. I think he's a snake, and I think, you know, we was
You're serious? He went into the court and said he slipped and hit his bum on the corner of a step.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right now, so Barrymore then has got the best QC in the country, right? The police, the last detective to take this on, has said that we think there's been corruption and someone has coerced the other detectives. So Mr. Kevin Macy, who's friends with Mr. Sausage Fingers, the best detective in the world, allegedly, who doesn't do one bit of his job to any professional standard, right? He's the first responder. He totally screws it up. Crucial. Now, anyone who knows anything about murder investigations, there's one thing, it's called the golden hour. You have 1 hour to basically do 90% of the work, right? Now, on the forensic photographs, there is this thermometer, right? And there's a handle that's been taken off a door, right? Both of them are large, spherical, fist-shaped objects. Now, the thermometer is incredibly phallic with 4 sharp edges. Now, when one of the decent pathologists sees it in the photo, says that alone would cause them injuries. But Mr. Michael Brown, allegedly, who is Barrymore's PA, may or may not have removed them items because the police let him go round there and take things away from the crime scene. So right. when they did seal it off properly, them items had been removed, and the only one that was able to do that was this guy, his PA, right? So and this door handle as well. Okay, now Terry Lubbock, the father, he dies in 2021, and it was a shame. I was due to meet him, but because of the lockdown, I couldn't. And I was in touch with him all through the lockdown. And he campaigned, and he was up against it all the time. Barrymore does a Kate McCann, goes on every chat show to try and gain back some sort of status. Barrymore ends up on Come Dine With Me, right? And I'm telling you, if anyone wants to know what DID looks like, altered states of consciousness and multiple personalities, watch that. This man definitely has two personalities. He goes from this over-the-top jokey to this incredibly serious individual on that series. On that, when he goes around Pat Sharp's house, he's mucking around, and when he goes on that Jenny girl, she's actually married to a copper that I used to work with.
That Jenny girl here.
Yeah.
She gives me mad vibes, man. Like, I'm telling you, I don't know if she's a reincarnation of like an evil deity or something. She gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, she's married to one of my old colleagues.
Well,
Jenny Powell, that's her name. But when they go around his house or his friend's house, he starts talking in a totally different accent. It's really, really weird. And when I watched it, I thought, this guy has got split personalities, right?
okay.
Now, they did a program on him. Now, this is where we're going to start delving into him. When he's being interviewed, he's lying. So this young boy, Stuart Lubbock, was a victim of a severe S assault and probably the R word, right? He's not homosexual at all, but there was huge amounts of ecstasy, cocaine, and alcohol in his system, right? And witnesses said they saw Barrymore rubbing the Charles onto Stuart's gum, right? Forcibly putting it into him, right? Now, there was a program called The House That Made Me, and they travelled back to Barrymore's childhood home, which was flat on a low-rise 1950s style block tenements in the heart of the East End. Now, he then starts talking about his childhood, and his dad was an incredibly abusive, domestically abusive and violent man, would batter his mum in front of him and all that. And you can see it's had a huge traumatic effect on Barrymore. I think this is a source of his homosexuality because of the fact that the male influence was an incredibly negative one, and he got the comfort and joy from the feminine, right? And I can sort of see that. His friends say that they knew he was gay, so he claims he came out in 1992, which is nonsense. His school friends said they knew he was openly gay. I think this marriage to Cheryl, his wife, was one of convenience because she could see that there was money to be made in this guy. And she ended up divorcing anyway. But I think I would say it was probably a sexless marriage. One of the solicitors that took out private prosecution against him for this turned around and said that there was evidence that Barrymore would get his driver to trawl around the streets picking up young rent boys. Now, if that's the case, he's predatory. Right? And he's got this propensity not to be a nice guy, right? When he does the interview with Piers Morgan, he turns around and says, I did not kill Stuart Lubbock. Now, I believe him because I don't think he did. Now, I'm going to bring something into the mix here, right? Now, this may or may not be true. This may be source information, but I'm going to share it. It's my theory, because this is crime theory, that his aggressive, cross-dressing, violent, possessive boyfriend, Jonathan Kenny, came back. I think that Barrymore drugged and anally R'd Stuart Lubbock. And I think that Kenny either found out or caught them doing it. I think that resulted in an injury to Barrymore's winkle, resulting in him having to go to this Springfield clinic. And I think then that Kenny, this is my theory, or someone with Kenny in this rage of vengeance may or may not have caused injuries that were life-threatening and horrific to Stuart Lubbock. So when he says, I never killed him, he's telling the truth, but I think he knows who did it. And I think that this guy, out of absolute spite, probably said, so you want to have anal or whatever, I'm going to give it to you. And he has then forcibly rammed whatever he could. The source information says screams were heard and that a R had occurred in there. Screams were heard. They were muffled with a pillow, which would account for their petechiae and the suffocation. That resulted in a huge loss of blood that came out of this guy, and that resulted in a panic situation. Now, Barrymore then has to do damage limitation. Now, he's going to call on favours. Theory. Something that no one has ever mentioned, right? We go on about secret societies. Now, maybe Barrymore's a Mason. We don't know, right? But I'll tell you one thing he is, because he's named as being such, is he is named by Dr. Joan Coleman, the leading therapist for DID at the Maudsley Hospital. She has named Michael Barrymore as an active participating Satanist, and his name is on the RAINS list, right? So he is on there now.
Wait, John. See,
he calls on fellow.
Summarize. Yeah. Just finish off what you were saying.
If he calls what theory?
Yeah.
What if he calls on fellow Satanists like Dr. Heath, Michael Heath, who has bodged and covered up so many high quality, top drawer murder cases, such as the Moors murders, This guy's been involved in all of them. Now, if you know how this works, again, this could be big conspiracy. John Wedger's gone mad, crazy stuff going on. But the simplest explanation is always the correct one. What if that the ritual abusers have appointed Michael Heath as their pathologist? Maybe they have a copper. Maybe it's this guy Macy. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Right?
Do you know what, John? For once, I'm going to disagree a little bit. Right? Everything that you say, everything that you said before he calls everything that happened before he called in the favors, I think you've let Barrymore away. Do you know what I think? I think his rise to fame was because he joined the club, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he really wasn't interested in the club. It was about the fame. Okay.
Yeah.
So he would be willing to do horrible things for fame. And I think over time, he wasn't able to disassociate fully. And that's what you've seen on Come Down With Me. But I think he was told, listen, your time's about to run out. You better get us another, sack of flesh. He's gone and grabbed this guy, took him back, and he has had to do these things as his penance, his homage. And because he isn't necessarily into that, he's just after the fame. I think that's why we've seen such a visible decay.
Yeah, and that in itself makes sense as well. And then, of course, how do you keep someone silent? You get them caught up in the conspiracy of silence.
They ain't doing these favors if you're not in the club, right?
Well, exactly.
I'm just saying, when we look at meteoric rise, all of this stuff, and the time period as well, John, very crucial for things like this. I think you've given him a pass too easily. I think he was a willing but not super into participator of all of this, and I think he would have been seen as a very weak link. Okay, he would be the last member of the crew that they would want dragged in and questioned, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, of course, and they can't afford to have that. They can't.
No.
But the RAINS list is out there.
Yes,
it's real.
That's why I think that, John. If he wasn't on that list,
his name is on there, and like the Masons call on a brother in need. You can always call on the others to help. Maybe the ritual gang have the same protocol. I don't know. I'm not a member of it. But when you see all the bit players in here, Michael Heath. I mean, when we do Iffy's case about her father, well, what that guy has done in covering that up. He's dead now, Heath, so we can have it. Warts and all. I
also feel like Michael Barrymore gives off vibes of was brought in by a friend to the club because everyone thought he would be cool. Do you know what I mean? And be able to, hold it down. he strikes me as the worst person to be recommending for anything. And I think maybe he was recommended or brought in by somebody who it was more important to protect and keep safe. So keeping Michael Barrymore innocent was a key.
Whatever's happened is that poor Terry Lubbock never got justice. Never got justice at all. They drag in Michael. They bring in all the big guns. The McCanns have done exactly the same. The same what the McCanns have done. Michael Mansfield has tried to bully everyone with his wordsmithing, and his articulation, and to say that the guy just fell over and banged his bottom. I mean, we used to get. I'm going to tell you, we used to get these defences when I was a child abuse investigator, and one of the things the defence used to always say: girls' bikes and boys' bikes are built differently, because girls' bikes haven't got the big crossbar that goes across. Because if they fall and they bash, their sensitive parts on there,
it never made any sense to me, John. Surely. The boys one, I wasn't made any sense to me, right?
It can cause the hymen to detach, right? Okay, so they will be classed as in there's a word for it. It's say not in intact, right? In intacto or something like that.
Yeah.
Not intacto. So the hymen will be broken. So when they, it's alleged that stepdad has done something, for example. The excuse is, oh no, that's because she landed on the bedpost or fell off a bike. They come out with rubbish, because that's all they can come out with. And when it's in the back passage, they always say they're tearing because it's tearing. It could be caused by constipation, but it's rare. Obviously, but it's one of these bizarre things that could happen. They will say, oh, she was constipated or he was constipated. They come out, you can almost predict it. And this is what this snake Michael Mansfield's done. Said he's bashed his bottom. And this guy has got the most horrific, and then, so Barrymore turns around and he says, right, years later, because this is going on and on and on, he said, right, oh, my legal team, I don't know who his legal team are, they're probably as lower morals as him. They've found now that there's a male nurse at the hospital on the triage that treated Stuart Lubbock when he was brought in, who categorically says that Stuart had no injuries at all, and that the injuries were caused by them checking the temperature of his body, his dead cadaver, with the rectal thermometer, which, honestly, is thinner than a pencil.
I was going to say, that is wild.
That would not cause the aperture of your ring piece to be the size of an orange.
Yeah, unless you happen to insert it with an orange, Let's be honest.
So there's Barrymore saying they did not happen, and he's shouting and he's really cursing down. They did not happen. And of course, apart from Mr. Corrupt Dr. Heath, all the other fours have said these happened while the body was alive, not post-mortem after life. These happened during life, and they can tell that from the bloodletting, from bruising and everything else. And they've all said the same. These were horrific injuries that would have caused extreme trauma, possibly death. Right? Amazing. And then Barrymore then uses Michael Mansfield, again, the same thing, to say this is what happened, and members of the jury, we must believe that because it's the truth. And then everyone in the Big Brother house claps Barrymore when he's presented as the next guest because he's such a lovely guy. How much
can you imagine being in the Big Brother house with Michael Barrymore?
They all clapped him, they loved him. But what about poor Terry Lubbock, who knows that his son has been fisted to death? And the lies, the absolute nonsense. He knows that the police never sealed it off as a crime scene, right? And then they wouldn't discredit the couple because he's the best in the business. He knows that the world's worst pathologist has said it was drowning when it clearly wasn't. Michael Mansfield has done his snaky routine, and all these other layer upon layer have gone on, and he's screaming for justice. So, and when also what we've got to look at is detectives that are involved. There's 2 other cases where some of them detectives were involved in big cover-ups. There's a case of Lee Balkwell, a lad that was killed in very, very suspicious circumstances, and his body was chucked in a cement mixer in the same area. Massive, massive cover up, right? Never any justice for the family, for the father, and again, the same police involved in the barrel. And there's another one, a case of Matthew Leahy and his mother Melanie, still to this day campaigns. This is a young lad that was put under a section into a secure unit, and they said he hung himself, but he had severe rectal injuries.
Yeah, he slipped and hit his bottom off a step as well.
And yeah, he slipped in this same swimming pool, yeah, and then managed to hang himself. And the same coppers dealt with that, and it was all covered up. So you see, and what Essex police do, they do it all the time. They say, well, the Met police are corrupt, we're not. You know, and that's all you ever get with them. Well, the Met are terrible, they're corrupt, we're not like them.
Yeah,
but, you
know, passing the buck.
Essex is full of the old gangsters that come out the East End. You know, they've just migrated with the trade winds eastwards. Yeah. They've followed the tide of the Thames east. And that's where they've ended up settling on the north banks of the Thames in Essex. And they set up their police force there. So there's a history with all these bit players in this tragic saga. Like I say, I knew Terry. I knew a good friend of the family. I was with him last night. We had a big discussion about this. And you know, so some of this info is good, solid info.
Yeah.
Good, solid info. Will there ever be justice? No, because the police, the best detective in the world, Kevin Macy, allowed a civilian, not even an impartial civilian, the PA of the main suspect, to go and remove the murder weapon, i.e. the pull thermometer, the phallic-shaped 5-inch rugged-edged pull thermometer was allowed to be removed, and this door handle again, a big cylindrical phallic-shaped object, allowed them to be removed, never to be found again. Did the police, the last senior investigating officer, deemed it suspicious? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He said this is highly, highly suspicious, and they were probably the murder weapons. So there's nothing that we're covering in contentious ground here.
Damn.
So it's and this guy still, you see him on TikTok, Barrymore, trying to drag back the remnants of some sort of career. But Michael, if you're watching this, you're going to hell. Repent what you've done. Tell the truth. You know, admit what you've done. Grass everyone up, and let's have the truth. Otherwise, you're going to hell, my friend.
Yeah.
You know, this is wrong. This is wrong, and you know what you've done, and you know what others have done that were there. Tell the truth. Stop lying, because I think you're lying. But there you go. There's a little personal message someone might want to.
And either way, suck your mum.
Suck your mum. Yeah, and your nan.
And your nan. All right, Barrymore. Jesus.
Yeah. So, you know, this is one of them ones where it was like the McCanns. The more you looked into it, it actually defies belief. I couldn't believe it. The more I read into this, I thought, no, this is a sick joke. This really is. And Ron, in so many of these ones that we've covered, we are so near to the algorithm of police corruption, murders, ritual abuse.
John, the only difference in this recipe of this case is the age of the victim.
Yes.
Everything else
I agree.
Textbook for the club, for the people on that list, for all the all know what I'm talking about. It's the same. I almost feel like this was a test run. I almost feel like this was can we just kill a guy in a pool and how will the public react? Everyone drew a straw at the club. Barrymore got the short straw. It's nuts.
Well, I was reading something that there's some evidence came out that young boy that went missing in Cole Shorten, I don't know, circa 1980s, something like that. Yeah. And his name was Lee Boxall, not Lee Boxwell, but Lee Boxall. And the police have now said that they genuinely believe that our man killed him, the one that we did the thing on. His name's just gone straight out of my head. The fella that's believed to have killed the two boys, the milk carton kids, that just died this year in Wakefield Prison. what's his name?
The guy that used to work at the fairground.
Not Sidney Cook, but he worked for the Milk Marketing Board, but he did work for Fairground as well. What's his name? The ex-Royal Marine.
No, I'm a face guy. Database of faces.
Anyway, his name is. It'll come to me as soon as we finish. But they've now, and we said this man will be responsible for many, many more missing young boys, and they've now near enough pinned it on him. So we were ahead of the times, and I predicted this would happen, and it has. So it happened this week. So Brian Fields, Mr. Brian Fields.
Just to remind everybody, if this is your first time watching Crime Theory, this is our second season. We've got a whole back catalogue of episodes, from Jill Dando to Dunblane to multiple on Madeleine McCann to cases you've never heard of. I really, if you really enjoy this and want to get into binging some stuff, I'll get it set up as a playlist on Sean's channel, but you can certainly find all of the previous episodes on a playlist on my channel's homepage. They're all on this channel, but it's easier to find them over there if you want to go and binge some of this, because it's easy to get sucked into some true crime on a Thursday. And why give anyone else your views, you lovely people? Stick it with the familia and see what else we've got.
Well, and I enjoy doing them as well. I love the research because it gives me back that little spark that I had when I was a detective. It's the same energy that I used to get, and I really want to get cracking with stuff. And it's so we got this guy Jonathan Kenny still out there. He's now a coach driver, tried to assimilate himself into normal society. He's a great guy, so he knows the truth as well. So let's see. If these people screw up again, but this is a good one because of the public's perception of I agree. Mr. Barrymore, and we had the same with Savile. Everyone loved him until he died, and then the truth came out. So maybe the truth will never come out, but there might be strong elements of the truth that we've mulled over in our theory tonight.
Correct. I just want to say as well, we're obviously going to be doing our monthly Madeleine McCann, but either this week, it's probably not next week, but two weeks from now, I'm going to put together a crime theory that is from my world. Okay, a little deep dive into some of the dark web realities and some of the criminality that goes on there, and just really hit it off John, because it's two different worlds that sadly intertwine with the subject matter, but not necessarily the worlds in which you go hunting these horrible individuals in. It'll just be a one-off, just so you know, because
look, we're willing to entertain Julia, Polish Maddie, and again, because she was so worried. She said, "I don't want to be ridiculed and be called a liar." And I said, "Well, unfortunately, we might infer that you're telling something different to what we know, but we're not spiteful like that, not at all."
Well, the thing is, Sean's perfect for this, John. Sean is perfect for an interview with someone like Julia, completely perfect, because he will listen and he will just allow her to tell her story. And if it's not a night for hard questions, he won't make it a night for hard questions. I think that's a key thing to note when someone is being allowed to tell their story. It's not about bringing them on to question and push back. Sometimes it's just to give someone a voice.
Well, Julia watched our episode the other week and she said it was good. She said it was good.
Awesome. I've been speaking to her this afternoon, helping her get set up for the show on Sunday. She seems like a really nice lady.
So it's not, we're not out, we're obviously out for the bad guys, but that's just what happens when you decide to murder people, especially children. Then,
exactly.
There might just be a bit of a kickback there. So just suffer that one. But I've really enjoyed it. I've been looking forward to this. So
have I. And listen, everybody, give us suggestions for what you want to see. John and I, we got a lot of requests for some of the older, more hardcore royal cases, some of the more really dark stuff. And what I might do is once a month do a crime theory special as an extra show with John on my channel, where John can kind of deep dive into subjects that are just not going to be covered on Sean's channel, if you know what I mean. Because there's 2 or 3. There's, and we won't say his full name, but Mr. Wong. There's that place that begins with Heath or ends with Heath, right? We can't talk about that here. And a lot of the lords, ladies, and royals that I want to delve into that we certainly can't talk about here. So I'd like to do, if John, you can figure out if you've got time for that, just an extra show a month, maybe like on a Monday or a Sunday or something like that, because there's some stuff that I know we need to cover, but we might not necessarily be able to do it here. So,
well, I'll tell you something interesting.
Okay.
You know, when we was going on about Wayne Couzens, the copper who murdered Sarah Everard.
Yeah.
And then subsequently there was that other guy, David. I can't remember his surname actually. But anyway, there's these 2 coppers that both went away for life sentences for their nefarious activities. And I was talking to an old detective colleague of mine. He's still a serving detective. And he said, John, if a copper's caught using the services of a S worker, a prostitute thingy, they're dismissed. They're dismissed, and which is a new ruling that's been brought in, and that's on the because of people like Wayne Couzens and the other guy, because they had this propensity to use the services of street worker, streetwalkers and women and that. So so it seems that it just goes to show that that the police sometimes can do the right thing and and take heed from it. But it's interesting. We're but I'll save it for next week. There's another little snippet I want to.
Well, listen, that's just it. We'll find out what's happening next week from John. I'll always post everything on a Monday. Of course, we're back next Thursday. I'm back tomorrow, 12:30 for Royal Mess, and then 8:30 in the evening for the main Royal Mess show. Come and join us there. I have got some stuff that's almost edited for here. The Nico series is probably going to be the next big drop of mine on here. I'm just waiting to confirm a launch date and confirm with Nico, because it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night in the evening, 1 episode per night, 1 chapter a night. And then I'm hoping, I just need to find out what's happening with what necessarily might be happening with this show. Might have to wiggle the times around so that on the Thursday there's a live with Nico and everyone can kind of pitch their questions. But if I'm being honest, I wouldn't be starting that live till about 10, which will be done by then, John. So I'm not really super worried.
Well, I know I'll speak with Corinne. I know she's been sick lately, but see if she can come and give us her professional input on the minds of a murderer.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
How their minds work and why they do what they do.
Again, I'd love for us, John, to get to the point where we're doing 1 show on Maddie and then 1 show a month with an expert, and it's like crime theory with like a blood splatter expert or a sniffer dog or somebody who's
look, you've tasked me with that one. I'll speak to my people in the dog world, and hopefully I'll be able to get in touch with this guy.
Yeah, wicked. Well, listen, thank you everybody in the side chat. Thank you to all the mods. Make sure you guys are liking and sharing. I think we had 468 on YouTube and 503 on Twitter. All of the shows that I do with John will always be on Sean's Twitter. Even if they're not on this channel and they're on my channel, we'll always broadcast to their platforms. And yeah, thank you all for being here. Smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. John, you're a legend as always. Everyone loves you in the side chat. I love you. Thank you for being here. You've made me a fanboy of my own show every week where I tune in and listen to all this. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you guys next time.